Hello everybody, my name is Rini and welcome back to my channel. Today we are seeing how to cover your cake with whipping cream and also get a sharp edge on it. So I'm starting with a vanilla cake sponge and I had already made it and kept it inside my fridge. I'm using a serrated knife. A serrated knife is any knife which has these incisions like you can see. So how to cut your cake sponge evenly into equal layers. Okay, so using my knife I have marked the area where I want to cut the sponge. So I'm just placing the knife in the same place and I'm rotating my sponge. Moving the knife can, sometimes lead to uneven cuts. So it's always good to rotate your sponge, and you can see I've gotten a very even layer. I'm just repeating that process once again so you can see it again. How to fill your piping bag with whipping cream. So if you do not have a glass around, so this is how you would do it. I'll just make a C with my hand and I just fold the edge of the piping bag over that hand of mine, and I'm just going to place the whipping cream inside. Make sure that you're shaking your piping bag a few times so that you avoid any air bubbles. This is a very important step. Make sure you're applying some amount of whipping cream onto the board. It acts as the glue between the sponge and your cake board. Just spread it evenly. I am going to show you two ways how to fill your cake sponge. So the first method is by using a piping bag. If you are a beginner, I would highly suggest using a piping bag for filling, for the crumb coat, for the final coat. It just makes everything very easy. So just put continuous and consistent pressure on the piping bag and make these circles inside. Using a spatula, just even out the top of the whipping cream. After you add another sponge layer, make sure that it is in the center. So the next method is by I'm putting this blob of whipping cream. I'm again going to be using my spatula and I'm trying to even it out. So what you have to do is to use a to and fro motion and try to spread it equally everywhere. So this method does take a little bit longer, but with practice you will get there. So you can see that I'm taking some whipping cream from the areas which has more and I'm placing it to the areas which has less. So this will take some time, but with practice you will get there. Just try to make sure that it is as equally spread and as plain as possible. This is a very important step. So we are covering our cake with a crumb coat now. So what is a crumb coat? A crumb coat is basically used to secure the crumbs that fall out of a cake sponge. Any sponge that you make will have some tips and bits of crumbs falling out of it, right? So we do not want those crumbs to interfere with the final coat or the final coverage of the cake. So we use a tiny bit amount of whipping cream and secure it so that it do not have an impact onto the final coat. So you can see I'm using my spatula. I've just taken a very small amount of whipping cream and I've just spread it all over the cake to make sure that all the crumbs are mixed with the whipping cream and are stuck onto the cake. After the crumb coat is done, make sure that you keep it inside the fridge for at least 10 to 15 minutes, and only then we'll move on to doing a final coat. So now the cake is outside and I've kept it inside the fridge for 10 minutes. So we are ready for the final coat. So I'm using my piping bag like I've told you earlier. It makes everything easy. So the secret here is to take some, put some extra amount of whipping cream towards the edge of your cake. So you can see me deposit some extra whipping cream onto the edge. So make sure you do the same because this has some significance. Next, I'm using my spatula and you can see these lines that we have made because we piped through a piping bag. So I'm just going to, use the same to and fro motion and even it out. Don't worry, it's not going to be very neat at this moment. You just have to do this so that the whipping cream gets evenly distributed. Go all around the cake. It is time for us to start using a scraper now. So take your scraper and place it on the cake board and keep it at an angle of 45 degrees with the cake. So now be very gentle while you rotate your cake, and also hold your scraper with the tips of your finger so that you are not applying too much of pressure, otherwise a lot of whipping cream is going to come out. So now you can see that whatever extra cream that has come out onto the scraper, I'm using the same cream and I'm putting it onto the areas which have less amount of cream. So you might have to go around the cake a couple of times because this takes some time, but eventually with some amount of practice and some amount of patience you're going to get there. So since we had deposited some extra cream onto the edge, you can see that some whipping cream is standing out. So what you have to do now is to use your scraper and pull it down to the center. This is exactly what is going to give you your sharp edge. So I'm going to be sharing a secret, which is this card, 7 of Hearts. So okay, you can basically use any card or any plastic card. You even get a nice, plastic scraper. What it really does is that after I've done my finishing coat, I go around the cake with this card. Since it's very thin and it takes away very less amount of whipping cream, it gives it a very, very smooth and neat finish. So instantly you will see a very big difference. So I would highly recommend you to do the same. This is a real-time video, so basically anybody who's starting out would know how much time it takes, and you might have to sometimes go around the cake multiple times to get the perfect finish. But in case you have watched till now, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for watching, and do consider subscribing to my channel and leaving a comment and liking the video. Thank you again. Bye.